Hello, and welcome to Barely Afraid.
Today we dive into some of the most jaw-dropping sightings of the legendary king of the cryptid world, Bigfoot. Soaring in, we fall back in time to a sighting that has recently begun to gain traction. Originally occurring in the year of 2024, we travel to a remote wooded area somewhere in North America. On this particular day, a man has elected to go out deer hunting. As he sits there with his rifle in hand, he notices all of the sudden silence and begins to realize that everything in the woods has gone quiet. With small movements, he begins to adjust himself to look around the immediate surrounding area. Eventually, he hears something walking on the dry leaves up ahead. What he sees still has him shaken till this very day. Emerging from the tall dry grass, you can see a dark Bigfoot-like figure. Zooming in, we can see the being's long arms and hunched posture. Both traits are thought to be needed if a Bigfoot sighting has any chance of being authenticated. As the video goes on, you can see the creature make its way across the small clearing into the other sides of the woods. This sighting was met with much excitement from the Bigfoot enthusiasts of the world, as well as even greater speculation from the skeptics. Starting off with the negative point of view, the skeptics chose to throw out all of their usual arguments and would highlight and focus on one key section of the video, that being this small span right here. According to the skeptics of the world, Bigfoot, as well as all other beings that live in the forest, all have one thing in common. They don't need to look down to walk in their own natural environment. Right here you can see the supposed Sasquatch turn their gaze downward in order to continue its trajectory. To many people around the world, an actual Bigfoot would have no reason to do this, as they would be highly adapted to walking on the forest floor. With this point highlighted, the skeptics then chose to issue one of their usual debunking statements. That statement being that this sighting was just a man in a suit. However, the case was not closed, not even by a long shot. To most believers, they took the skeptics' debating stance as lazy and downright absurd. After all, even if you were used to walking in the woods, it would make sense to look down if something was in the way, right? Believers would then go on to present their piece of the pie, this time with experts and scientists that reviewed the footage and deemed it 100% authentic. Of course, to make an even bigger impact, the believers would pile on the obvious traits of the big creature. Long arms, a hunched posture, and dark brown hair. It would seem that the believers might have this one, but that isn't for us to decide. Instead, we ask you, is this a man in a suit, doing their best not to trip over the forest floor below? Or is this an actual Bigfoot that was out for a walk and just so happened to glance down at the path in front of them? Only you can be the judge. Floating in, we settle down at the tail end of 2025, at perhaps our most controversial clip of the evening. The story goes that a group of hikers had taken the opportunity to do some camping way out in the remote woods. As they traversed deeper into the forest, they eventually ran out of sunlight and were forced to make camp. After a few hours of fellowship, they all retired to their tents for the night. However, one of the hikers felt it right to hook up a game camera on the off chance that they may capture some form of wildlife walking by them as they slept. This photo is what they captured. Upon making its way onto the internet, the apparent Bigfoot began to blow everyone's mind. Looking closely at the sighting, we can see a large Bigfoot-like figure seemingly making its way right next to a tent. The being has long arms with a defined body and a hunched posture, and of course, some big feet. Zooming into the face, we can see an ape-like facial structure along with a cone-shaped head. Bigfoot enthusiasts were flabbergasted as more people began to dig deeper in an attempt to further credit the apparent Bigfoot sighting. However, the skeptics of the Bigfoot world were not going to go away without a fight. What came next was yet another case of, what came first? The chicken or the egg? You see, in an attempt to discredit the sighting, skeptics presented a Bigfoot video that shows this same Bigfoot walking through the same woods. To many believers, this was actually just more evidence that our beloved cryptid had finally been caught face to face. However, that was until this frame. If you look closely, there is a small blur above the tent that many believe to be a blurred out AI watermark or an AI glitch, with one side of the debate claiming that the photo came before the video and the other claiming the photo came from the video. The skeptics and believers seem to be locked in a stalemate. To this day, no one has come forward to claim ownership of the footage, and the location is still unknown. However, we can all say one thing for sure: whether this is an actual Bigfoot or an AI-generated hoax isn't up to us. That deliberation is left upon your shoulders. Flying in, we land at a picture, one strange moment, and two different locations. Perplexed? Let us explain. Going to the picture, it's easy to notice the dark hair, broad shoulders, defined torso, cone-shaped head, and hunched posture, along with long arms this figure possesses. These traits are all green flags when attempting to validate a Bigfoot sighting. However, it's when we zoom into the face that the story begins to take a turn. But before we get there, we first have to go back to the beginning, back to where this photo was taken, and when exactly that was. It's important to note that this sighting has been floating around the cryptid community for some time now. Depending on who you ask, determines just how long that time is. While some claim it was captured in the backyard of a woman's house in Boone, North Carolina in the year 2018, there are others that suggest the photo dates back all the way to the year 1995 when a man was out taking scenic photos of the wilderness. One key difference, aside from the timelines, is that the man from 1995 is said to have been taking photos all the way up in Seven Chutes, Quebec, Canada, not down in the southern state of North Carolina. Where it gets even more interesting is that instead of having a believers versus skeptics debate like usual, we instead have an internal debate amongst cryptid believers everywhere. While many claim this photo confirms the presence and existence of our favorite cryptid, there are many that suggest this isn't Bigfoot at all. Instead, they highlight another Bigfoot cousin that is less known. But in a shocking twist, even more dangerous and primal than our beloved furry friend, that cousin is called the Gugwe. If you don't know what a Gugwe is, here is a brief explanation of the cryptid. Originally coming from parts of Ontario and Quebec, Canada inside Algonquin and Ojibwe traditions, the Gugwe is described as a large upright hair-covered humanoid typically reported to stand 6 to 8 feet tall. It has dark brown or black hair, with broad shoulders and a strong muscular build, while sporting an upright confident bipedal posture. Sound familiar? However, where the physical description begins to separate from Mr. Big is in the facial area. To many people, the Gugwe is actually more human-like in the face. Unlike Bigfoot, they have a flatter nose, more visible lips, a defined cheek structure, and a heavy brow ridge. Witnesses often report the creature as a wild forest person rather than a bear or some kind of ape. In today's cryptid community, there is actually a nickname for the Gugwe. That nickname would be the Devil's Monkey. It's true the Gugwe was originally feared and avoided in ancient traditions. The Gugwe has also gained a reputation in today's world as a more aggressive and confrontational version of Bigfoot. Most experts attribute this to the Gugwe having a more human-like face, which makes it seem more confrontational when spotted. Going back to the sighting, we begin to put together all the pieces we began with, starting with the location of this sighting. Many believers have decided this is our usual cryptid friend, the one and only Bigfoot. For those believers, they assign this footage to the great state of North Carolina. However, it seems there are many more people that side with the location of Seven Chutes, Quebec, Canada, and in doing so, elect this being as a Gugwe out for a casual stroll. After all, the Gugwe originated in Canada, and even till this day, they are reported primarily in eastern parts of the friendly country, while simultaneously dipping down into the northern state of the US. Whether or not this is Bigfoot or its cousin the Gugwe, the photo still raises the questions. Is this photo legit? Could this really be one of Bigfoot's cousins? Is there something else out there roaming the woods that we don't know about? Once again, the choice is in your hands. Before going into the next sighting, we'd like to remind everyone that if you have any cryptid sightings, we'd love to hear and see them. Feel free to send them in at bearlyafraid@gmail.com. Also check out our brand new store and website. Find out why Bigfoot is always blurry, and pick up a new shirt from our new I Believe collection. Every view, like, and purchase helps the channel and allows us to keep bringing you the best cryptid sightings out there. Thank you again for being a part of our Barely Afraid family. Crashing in, we arrive in the dead of the night at yet another series of trail camera video footage. While it is true we don't know where this footage was captured, we do know it was caught in the fall of the year 2024 in a remote forest. The story is actually quite simple. A hunter set up 2 trail cameras in an effort to understand his prey's walking and traveling patterns deep inside the forest. After finishing up, the hunter left the area, allowing Mother Nature to proceed as normal. This is what they captured. In the first clip, we can see a dark, Bigfoot-like figure that has apparently noticed one trail cam and is in a hurry to get away. It's been theorized that the flash on the trail cam that is meant to illuminate whatever it captures is actually what startled the supposed Sasquatch. Zooming into the being, we can see a large defined chest, broad shoulders, and a cone-shaped head along with a hunched posture. Upon hitting the streams of the internet, believers and skeptics assembled to battle it out in the age-old debate of real or fake. To start off the grand debacle, skeptics dismissed this as nothing more than a man in a suit. They would also point out the legs of the being, saying they're too short, and that the movement of the figure just seemed way too human-like. Some even go as far to say this is one of the first realistic generations of an AI Bigfoot. While AI wasn't as commonly used for generating content as it is today, in some circles 2024 is thought to be the year that AI made its way to the everyday household, mixed with the fact that the location of the sighting is unknown, and up until now, not one person has come forward to claim this as their own. Skeptics rested easy, thinking they had this one in the bag. However, the Bigfoot community wasn't going to take this laying down. Instead, they would focus back onto the physical characteristics of the apparent Bigfoot. We've already accounted for the large defined chest, broad shoulders, cone-shaped head, and hunched posture, but in a shocking twist, the believers would point out a specific feature of the Bigfoot creature, that feature being the butt of the Sasquatch. To many people online, the rear end of the Bigfoot is too defined to just be a suit. They would also point out that the fur on the creature seems to stay tight to the being rather than being loose and scraggly like many Bigfoot costumes online. Believers would even go as far as to attack the claims of the skeptics by saying the movements exhibited here are more inhuman rather than human-like. While they highlight the long strides and the way that the figure jumps, most Bigfoot experts are thrilled to say this is a credible sighting. One theory online is that the location of this has been purposely hidden so that the real Bigfoot can remain safe. The theory also explains that the sighting was only released to show evidence of the big man's existence. However, this is all speculation, and instead of answering questions, brings many new unknowns to this sighting. Alas, we give the deliberation to you. Is this a man in a suit? Is this an AI Bigfoot? Or is this an actual Bigfoot that is being protected somewhere deep in the remote wilderness? Only you can decide. Slashing in, we travel back in time to the middle of October in the year of 2025. A man and a woman are out exploring a remote area at sunset. As they explore, the day eventually ends and they are ushered into the night. This doesn't seem to faze them as they continue to walk around, seemingly upbeat and at ease. However, this would soon change. After a brief moment of darkness, the pair began to hear weird sounds and noises coming from off in the distance. Perplexed, they begin to follow them, as they begin to fear that someone is in need of assistance out in this remote part of nature. As they begin to make their way to the sounds, they notice an eerie dense fog that has begun to descend upon them. Almost like an omen, we can hear the couple's uncertainty begin to leak through in their voices. Even so, they continue to call out to the distressed noises.
Do you need help?
I don't know. Dude,
Look at this, thing's ridiculous.
oh my
It's above our
God!
head.
Are you okay? What is happening?
Eventually, the woman spots a dark shadow figure lurking right at the edge of the tall grass. As the woman attempts to rationalize what she's seeing, the shadow figure stands in place. At least for the moment, the man that is with the woman begins to tell her that it's just the grass and nothing more. After a small back and forth debate, the woman seems to accept that this is nothing more than her eyes playing tricks on her. That is, until the shadow figure begins to move.
What the hell is that?
Just yap.
Dude, look in the field. Is that grass? Is that the way the grass is? What is that? Dude, it's got shiny eyes. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it. What's it doing? So it's just the grass? Are you sure? What the? What the?
Looking closely, we can see the shadow figure begin to come toward the couple, which prompts them to panically run away. While it is tough to make out the physical characteristics in detailed fashion, we can definitely see just how big the figure appears to be. However, although the couple was scared, that doesn't exactly mean this creature intended to do them any harm. One person online offered the explanation that perhaps this supposed Sasquatch was doing its best to simply keep the couple away. This is why it only came forward as the couple continued to stare at them. After all, Bigfoot are thought to be extremely territorial beings, and it isn't surprising that one wouldn't want the couple snooping around. Another person even goes as far as to say that the Bigfoot was keeping the couple away from some kind of event or occurrence that was taking place further ahead in the area. To add evidence to this claim, they point out the thick dense fog that seemed to cover the area moments before the Bigfoot sighting. As more and more believers began to add to this theory, it was pointed out that perhaps the shadow figure, or alleged Bigfoot if you will, had just emerged from a portal of some kind. This would account for the strange noises, the dense fog, and of course, the sighting. Of course, this is all speculation, and whether or not any of it is real isn't up to us. It's up to you. Did this couple actually run into the elusive cryptid we all know and love as Mr. Big? Was this just a hoax orchestrated by the couple in question? Or did this couple stumble upon something darker? Something not any of us could fathom? Let us know what you think down below.
What?
What the? Oh my God!
If you enjoyed tonight's countdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Have a creepy clip or ghost encounter of your own? Drop it in the comments or send it to our email that just might appear in the next episode. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your lights on tonight. You never know what might be standing in the dark.